Hello, everyone. This is Cindy Kabika, and I am so glad that you beautiful souls are joining us today. And of course, we have the co-hosts here, Lorelei and Shivani. Say hi, everybody.
Hello.
Hey.
I really am so excited today about this topic. Of course, this is the Soul View, and we look at what's going on in the news from a soul perspective. And last week, of course, was the royal wedding. Now, we're not going to be talking about the royal wedding, but one of the highlights of the royal weddings, besides the I do's, of course, was Bishop Michael Curry, and he talked about the power of love, and that was beautiful. In fact, it was Shivani that pointed it out to me, and well, to both of us, so we had to go and listen to it, and oh my gosh, it was amazing. And some people had some negative things to say about it, a lot of positive things, but some people had some negative things to say about it, that it was a little too long, or his delivery style, because he is very out there, a little flamboyant, and I personally love that. I think it's beautiful, and it matched the message that he had. Didn't you think so, ladies?
Very much so.
Absolutely.
Very impactful.
I was really, really touched. I was like, oh my God, I was teary.
Yeah. I felt the same way, and I've listened to it 2 or 3 times, and it's been pretty remarkable. So we decided that's what's in the news. That's what people are talking about, and so that's what we're going to be talking about on the show today. The power of love, but not just the power of love, the power of self-love, because that is very difficult for many of us. So that's going to be our conversation. Before we get into that conversation, though, I would like to ask Lorelei for our cosmic weather. Lorelei?
Yes, and before I do that, I just want to say something about Michael Curry, because, that impassioned, and that flamboyant and almost theatrical to some degree, but he's a Pisces, and Pisces, of course, is one of the 2 most creative signs in the zodiac, one of the 2 most spiritual, with a lot of Aries energy, a lot of fire, and he talked a lot about fire. Well, this man is definitely, not every Pisces has fire energy. He has a lot of fire energy. So I just wanted to say that. So a lot of that energy that was almost like, so out there was so real, for him, because a Pisces, their inspiration is about being in service. So the Aries is in that, his flamboyancy, if you will, is in service to that. So
when's his birthday?
March 13th of, I think it's 53, if I'm not mistaken. March 13th. Yeah. I wanted to say. Yeah, so certainly the role, not every Pisces obviously is a minister, but every Pisces gets that, right, Cindy? You get that.
Yep, I get that as a Pisces.
Is a ministry. It's just expanding that. Mm-hmm. So interesting, the weather that we're in right now. The planet Mars is what drives us, and Mars is in Aquarius. Aquarius is the sign of pushing the envelope. It's the sign of the rebel. It's the sign of ingenuity and brilliance and uniqueness and originality. If you know anyone that is an Aquarian sun or has Aquarius energy, they are the innovators and I know, Ferris, you are one, inventors and the innovators of the zodiac. But this is what's interesting. Usually Mars is in a sign for like 2 months or so, but Mars is going to retrograde in June, from the middle of June to the middle of August. In Aquarius, my point being, we have a number of months now for all of us, whether we have Aquarius energy or not, to really try on the being motivated by what is outside the box, what is unique and brilliant and ingenious, and what is humanitarian in nature, because that's very Aquarian as well. So, you might find yourselves, really, again, pushing it with someone, like really like not just, it's not about standing your ground, it's about honoring the individual in everyone. That's what Aquarius is about. That's why every Aquarian is like a world unto themselves. Farrah certainly is, there is that,
that for sure.
Well, Aquarians love humanity. It's people that they're not so sure about. It's like that bigger goal. So the fact that Mars is going to be in Aquarius, I think for like 7 or 8 months, or maybe not quite that long, but almost that long, gives us all an opportunity to try that on. And we'll be talking more about that when Mars retrogrades. So I really say for all of you, invoking that part of you that is unique and ingenious and brilliant and original and authentic above all. Authentic is probably one of my top 3 favorite Aquarian words.
So if we're feeling particularly rebellious right now, is that energy?
Yeah, I would say. I mean, people would be going, well, wait a minute. I've obeyed those rules when Mars was in Capricorn, right, Shivani? Now it's time to see, okay, those rules may serve the masses, but what about this approach? What about this unique, brilliant solution here? So I'm feeling that the genius in everyone has an opportunity to come forth now. That part of everyone, which again, it's about being an individual and making our individual contribution to the whole, to the collective in our own unique way. So if there were ever a time to really own the individual in us, I think we're going to have quite an opportunity over the next few months.
That's really cool. I found myself speaking up in ways that I generally don't, actually, that where I'm a little more forceful, saying, no, this is what I want. Period, end of story. There is not a discussion here. And I'm usually not that way so much. I like to hear, they'll answer, these people will answer a few questions. I'm like, nope, I'm moving on.
Yeah, I mean, and it's interesting, because you are looking for this, right fit and this, this honoring of the individual in all of us. So it's a great time for people to connect in groups of like-minded souls. I mean, this show is certainly this, but other venues for folks as well. So I think people will be gravitating towards folks, or groups where they can be who they are.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, let's move on to the Q&Q, the quotes and the questions, Shivani.
All righty, coming up. Okay, first of all, we have Cindy. Did you win the motorcycle? Lots of people ask.
No, I did not win the motorcycle. I couldn't believe how many people actually asked that. I had so many people asking. I didn't win the Dark Horse motorcycle, but my Indian Scout actually did win first place. This is Best Indian Scout. So that's when I got this as Gary calls it, my major award. From the Christmas Story, that show, that where he wins the major award too. He said, "You won a major award," and I just want to say, this is so meaningful for me because in 1997 I had a car wreck, as you guys know. And I've had lots of surgeries. And for 9 years, I could not get in a car without putting my feet up on the dashboard and screaming. And I drove everybody nuts for a long time. And then I learned about energy work. And someone kept telling me about tapping. And so I sat on my front porch and I thought, I'm going to try this. And I followed the instruction. In 5 minutes, that fear that I had of getting in the car cleared, and I've never had a problem again. If that hadn't happened, this would not have happened, because I wouldn't be riding a motorcycle. I wouldn't have the courage to even get on a bike. So for me to be here, it's a much deeper meaning for me than just having the Best Indian Scout. It truly is. I look at that as how far I've come. And I'm just grateful for the soul gang that we have, all of our listeners, all of the teachers that we've had that have taught us energy work. And it has been profound in my healing. So I'm very grateful.
All right, we've got some more quotes. One is from Helma. I really appreciated the discussion, which offered a glimpse of the souls playing out these royal roles, who these characters are, their soul potential to make a difference on a global scale, the public status and privilege given them a credibility that could be used for great good. I found it fascinating to learn about their astrological signs and the metaphysically auspicious timing of the union. Also being reminded of the challenges that each faces in their personal lives and how this could cause them to do inner work, preparing them for potentially big outer work. And then we have the opposite from Daisy.
Well, we've got to
I'm
bring up
not
all
that
sides.
interested. The royal family do not make huge contributions to make the world better. If Harry was a regular person, no one would care. He's not that handsome or talented. He was a good and loyal son. I will give him that. Okay.
I thought that was interesting, and I actually responded to that one because I thought it was interesting. I was interested because I remember the picture of this little boy, and I believe he was 12 at the time that his mother died so tragically. And here's this young boy expected to be stoic in a public setting, walking behind his mom's coffin. And to fast forward that in everything that he's gone through, and he went through some pretty significant things. And I'm sure, you know, we're talking about self-love today. I am sure that he thought, was there something I could have done to save my mom? You know, because all kids think that. Is there something I could have done? And that self-blame, you know, why is my life like this? And he went down a rocky road. And in that difficulty, you know, as we always say, when there's disorder on earth, there's order in heaven. And the order for him is, it took him into the military, which he has done so much. And he became a helicopter pilot, and he does a lot of volunteer work, and so does Meghan. And so there are good things. And the thing about the beauty, you know, what is beauty? Beauty isn't about this. It's beauty is a glow. It's an inner working. It's the soul. It's the love. And that's what I see.
Like the heart.
Yep. Living from the heart. Do y'all agree?
Yeah. And everyone's entitled to their opinion. That's what makes this so great. You know,
that is. So I just, I thought it was interesting. I thought it was a great comment. So,
well, like I said, in Australia, we are very divided, right? We have the people that are really into the royals, and then we have the monarchists that say the wedding cost X amount million of dollars, and what a waste. Yeah. So,
well, in a way, though, if you think about it, yes, I can see that. But when you think about what a wedding like that awakens in the people who watched it, you know, and all of a sudden now, you know, love is sort of on the platter for folks examining that, you know, when you really look at it that way in terms of how it opens people. I mean, you know me, I'm a Pollyanna, I'm the idealist, but, you know, yeah, it costs millions of dollars, but if it opened people's heart chakras to greater love in their life, then ultimately it's worth it. So,
yeah. Planetary service.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. Planetary service. Exactly.
That's it. And what's so fascinating there too is it brings back that ideal that all of us have, that we want a love story to happen to us.
Yeah.
And which is, I just,
perfect segue.
As always, I actually wrote a book called I Want a Love Story to Happen to Me. And Ferris, of course, our producer, did the photographs. He's a commercial photographer. And it's all about looking for that ideal and what it really is all about. And I won't read this, but I will show. This is the prince and princess on the cover. And then we go to this. This is the prince and princess as they get older. So there is a different part of us, I think, that's awakened whenever we see something like that, don't you?
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
Which brings us to our topic about the power of love. You know, so many people say, if only I had this perfect relationship, I would be whole. Right? Have you ever said that?
I married 5 times. You don't think I thought that? Yeah, for sure. I thought the prince was out there. I had to become the prince. Had nothing to do with those frogs.
No.
They were all perfect at the time. Sorry.
It reminds me of that song, Have You Ever Been a Frog Kissing? Have you ever been frog kissing? Then you don't know what you've been missing. So bend around and kiss you a frog.
We're seeing the creative side.
Yep. There is this wonderful book, you know, that Shel Silverstein wrote called The Missing Piece. And that really coincides with what we're talking about today. And and this is, this is the little hole here. Feels like he has a little missing piece. So he goes out looking for his missing piece. And to be whole, he tries on all these different little wedges, trying to make himself complete. And then when he finds somebody he really cares about, they're rolling along. And as he rolls, he realizes that he becomes whole in and of himself. And so does she. And they realize that they can go through life side by side and not trying to complete yourself, because we are complete in and of ourselves, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But isn't it interesting how movies like Jerry Maguire with that line, you complete me?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, and that's kind of what people grow up with, that sort of conditioning. We're conditioned for that until we get somehow, whether it's through relationships that don't work or whatever, that, wow, it is an inside job.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's amazing.
I think a lot of us have almost a transactional relationship, and it goes like, okay, I have this hole that I need filling, so I want you to fill the hole, and vice versa, right? And if we are not aware of that, this is when relationships unravel, especially if, one partner changes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I think for all of us that have had, relationships, many of relationships, as we've dated or got married and divorced, we realize that we have to find that wholeness within ourselves.
Yeah.
And that's where the self-love comes in.
That was huge. Yeah. That was huge for me. I mean, I kid when I say that about being married 5 times. I have been, but I believed that I was going to find, and thank you for that book, the missing piece. I didn't know it was missing at the time, but it was in a relationship and in a marriage. If I'm married, I'll be safe. I'll be secure. The marriage will define me. Well, certainly a marriage is beautiful. And I never married anyone thinking it wasn't going to last forever. But I really had to learn that in a way where it was, damn, it's got to be in here. And I was angry when I finally got that I had to shift the energy into the piece of what was going on here.
What was the big aha for you?
It was that it wasn't working, that I still wasn't happy in the in other words, I had to find it here, and I was in graduate school at the time, and I was, focused on studying, and I didn't really have time to date. And I knew I wanted to be partnered again someday, but I went, what, right now I am my own partner. And, I created my 7 relationship truths. They're not original, it's what I've learned. And one of them is, I believe in order to be happy in life, we have to be our own parent, our own best friend, and our own partner. And and that's what I've had to learn, and it's an ongoing process. It's not about John to, quote, make me happy. I mean, isn't it? I really thought it was, if I was in a relationship, that would make me happy, as opposed to it has to come from in here. Yeah.
What about you, Shivani?
Well, I just thought of it. I was the opposite. So when I was 15, I didn't want to marry. I knew I wanted to travel. Like, I knew already I wanted to come to Australia. So I was really not, I was scared a lot to be in a horrible relationship and have a child. So I didn't want to have children. I didn't want to get married. And I got married originally for me to stay in Australia. So,
I don't know that story. You have to share that sometime.
Wow.
So, but the amazing thing is, I mean, I don't know whether I should really tell that on, national, international.
You don't have to share the story here,
but basically, I mean, we had feelings for each other, but we got married for me to stay in Australia. And then we fell in love. Like, we actually stayed married for 12 years.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, and I think we both were so scared to commitment. I don't know. So then, because we got married, was, okay, we're together. And we're still in contact. But I never really I never had this thing, the prince and the white gown. And I didn't have that.
I understand that. I didn't either. It was not ever a big thing for me. That's why I guess I was divorced for 23 years.
I had 5 gowns.
5 gowns. Oh my gosh.
Not quite 27 dresses, but 5.
When Gary proposed to me, it was kind of like, so do you want to get married? I don't know. Maybe. What about you? Sure, I guess. I don't know. Okay.
Oh, there was no.
Whatever you want to do. Okay, that's fine. It wasn't romantic at all.
Yeah.
I love what Bishop Michael Curry said. When love is the way, the earth will be a sanctuary. With love, we have a new heaven, a new earth, a new world, a new human family.
Yeah.
Love is the way. Love is the way. Love for others, love for the earth, love for love itself. Isn't that beautiful? I mean, that's just one of the many things he said, and that just touched my soul. And he also repeated this medieval prayer, which I was looking for. I couldn't find it, but it's where true love is found, God himself is there. And of course, for us who believe that we are not separate from, but one with God, then we feel God through the heart. You know, we live heart-centered. That makes complete sense. Have you ladies happened to see that anywhere? Or
No, but
No.
And you know what I wanted to throw out? He talked about, and it came from Martin Luther King, the redemptive power of love.
Yeah.
Like, what do you get from that? What is what does that mean to you guys? The redemptive power of life. It's redeeming us from.
I think it's forgiveness, forgiving yourself, forgiving others. Maybe.
Yeah.
You know, I thought it was.
Wipes the slate clean, right? Like.
Then it's Ho'oponopono. That's exactly the redemptive.
And
yeah. Okay.
And when you're in love, truly in love, you can become selfless. And to me, that's what I heard was discovering a new level of yourself through selflessness. Does that make sense?
Only said by a Pisces. I'm selfless.
Because I know, because
it's about everybody else.
I'm like,
You know me,
I'm bit, yeah. Not sure about that word.
But you know, becoming other focused or
yeah, certainly.
Yeah.
One of the things that I learned, and I can't even remember who said this, you know, the words "I love you" become meaningless after a while because you hear them. So I love you too, you know, and you stop really hearing them. It's kind of like a pile of stuff in your house. After a while, it disappears. You don't even see it anymore, and you don't hear it. And instead, to say something like, "I love who I am when I'm with you."
That.
Yeah,
That's
like that.
what that means to me. I love who because of you, I get to experience this side of me that without you, I'm not able to experience. You bring that to my life, and I thank you for that.
Well, and you know, on the other side of the coin, though, it actually works the other way too. You know, I mean, in other words, I'm going to find, you know, the Course in Miracles talks about how we can find ourselves or lose ourselves in a relationship. So we also find the worst of us, if you will, or the good, the bad, and the ugly in order to decide, are we going to love that?
Yes.
Right? Not is that person going to love it, but are we going to love what comes up, let's say, in, you know, when what's coming up is not this, oh, I love the way I am when I'm with, and I love that. But how about loving who we are when we become something else in a relationship, right? When it's triggering something else that needs to come up to be loved.
And that's where the self-love comes in.
Yeah, exactly.
Before we start talking about that, I just want to say, everybody, if you, depending on your technology and where you are, whether it is on Zoom or Facebook or YouTube, go ahead and just do a high five to that like button and subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is where we post all the videos afterwards, so you can go back and listen again and make your comments. We love hearing from you, so please put your comments in the chat box.
We've got some comments here. So from Sat Prem, thank you, ladies, for the frog laughter.
Frog humor.
Yeah. Even though I know it's an inside job, I was feeling a bit lonely alone the past few days, and y'all just made it evaporate. Thank you. And then we have Sydney. I'm right there with you, Cindy. Pisces unite.
Oh, Sydney! Yay! Good to see you, Sydney. So glad you're here. There's a Pisces with Aries energy.
Yeah.
So, when we're with somebody, and this is, from a relationship where Gary and I kept trying to get a divorce forever, it seems like, since we got married to raise Sarah. And we kept trying to, we didn't know what our relationship was. And what we found out is we had to get to know ourselves. Right. And once we understood ourselves, then our relationship got stronger. And now, after all that, we're in the best relationship ever. It is so magical. And we get to do so many fun, cool things together. And I'm grateful that it's come to this. And I love that man so much, and he loves me, and we give each other space to be who we are and to experience self-love. What we need for ourselves individually.
Well, yeah, I was just thinking of your, Gay Hendricks, they talk about, and it's really brilliant that each person, and I'm paraphrasing, has to be creatively sourced themselves, and they bring that to the relationship. As opposed to when people think things are missing from their relationship, it's usually because of a lack of self-love or a lack of their own creative sense of themselves. Mm-hmm. And that to me is brilliant about, the relationship genius only can happen when two people are in touch and are creatively sourced themselves. And that to me was brilliant, because how much pressure do we put on not just romantic relationships, any relationship? Again, to make me happy or make me, creative or whatever.
Well, this one person fulfills all my needs, right? I think not one person can do that.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what I've discovered. It's okay to have other friends, other people, animals.
Yeah.
But then when you come together to be fully present for each other, and then to be fully present for yourself when you're not, right. When you're not together. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
And maybe we can have a look at what does self-love mean in the practical sense? Because I think there's still a lot of uncertainty around that.
What is it to you, Shivani?
Yeah, for me, look, I'm just thinking, like, in a relationship, because I think some of us make love to be something really gooey, and for me, love can be, do you know what I mean? So lovey-dovey and gooey, and you have to say yes all the time, and, this romanticized idea about love. But I think love can be also really firm, being able to say no, or to create boundaries, or I think being in that way self-serving, like put yourself first, and then with the fullness of who you are, then you can serve others.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So the word that you used, for me, it was like, But then I do it with my dog. What was the word you used, Cindy? The Piscean word?
Selfless.
Selfless.
Mm-hmm. And when it comes to my
doormat, do you know what I mean? Like, that's the martyrdom. I think so many women grow up to be selfless, but I think we create a lot of hurt around it to ourselves.
I think it's the right kind of selflessness, because for a long time I was a martyr, and I gave without being filled back up again by anybody else. I expected nothing in return, which I feel that way now, but all this stuff keeps coming back to me. And I have this wonderful opportunity as I'm being selfless to be filled with this extraordinary love. I can't even, I don't even know how to describe it. It's a letting go of expectations. It's a letting go of expecting anything in return for anything that you do.
Mm-hmm.
But then when it comes back, it just fills you with that much more joy. I just...
Mm-hmm.
So your word of being, if you say selfless, for me that would be unconditional love. Is that the same?
Yeah, unconditional love, like we do with our critters. You know, that's easy. My cats, they roll. They roll.
Yeah.
Like your dog, like your cat, Lorelei.
Exactly.
What does this mean to you, Lorelei?
Self-love. Oh boy, that's been a journey for me, because I think I really judged the self part. Like my mom was an Aries, and Aries is the energy of self. And so she would tell me I was selfish. And I remember going, oh my God, I don't want to be selfish. And then as I was learning, I went, wait a minute, she's pretty self-centered. And then I learned about astrology. But again, it was like my gift from my mother was my own selfishness, which because I think to be really selfless, this one has to be full of self. I have to be full of myself before I can be selfless somehow. Yeah. Where I can really be in service to someone else. So to me, things like taking a nap when I'm tired, you know, in the middle of the day, thank God I work for myself, and I go, you know what, before Abraham always talks about napping is recalibrating. And I'll go, you know what, I'm really not creative right now. I need to do a number of things, but I think what I really need to do is go lie down for some period of time. So for me, things like that on the physical level, to really honor what my body is telling me.
See, that's self-love, and it's also selfless, because if I don't get my nap when I need one, nobody wants to be around me. I need what I need.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Do we have any more comments?
Yeah, we do. Jewel, yes, the definition of love, there are so many levels and different types of love. I have learned this over time. Both a feeling and a decision is what I found out.
I love that.
Cassie, you are all a hoot. I can't quite pronounce the Americanism. It would be yo. How you do it? Yo.
Hey, y'all.
Y'all are a hoot. I'm loving every single minute of this. Your laughter is contagious. Thank you. Bishop Michael Curry was the highlight of the wedding for me. His loving, powerful words made my spirit soar. Yeah, same me.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So, yeah, I call self-love to be self-full. And as Lorelei said, and you, Cindy, unless you are filled with your own, you can't give. Because if you give, and you don't feel, you feel empty, eventually you move into resentment.
You can't get from a place of emptiness.
It's amazing that you say that, because the loop that I would go into, and this is even recent of the last couple of years, would be, oh my God, I'm not filled up, and then feeling guilty that I'm not in service. Like, because because I am in service, but the guilt that I would feel because I wasn't filling myself up, I would go around that loop of, oh my God, I don't have anything to give, but I'm not giving to myself. So I really appreciate you saying that, Shivani, because that was my loop. And now I've sort of, stopped that loop, if you will, and gone, wait a minute, this is where you need to go recharge, not feel guilty that you have nothing to give, Lorelei. I'm saying myself.
Yeah, Sydney says that judgment of self is so huge. Self-love as self-full really resonates with me. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think especially women, we are so taught to put everybody else first. We come last, if at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it doesn't work.
No, it doesn't, and that's not the kind of selfless that I
know. Yeah, that's right.
At all. Yeah. I did that for years, and and it kept me in very bad situation in a relationship, and of relationship, and that's not what I'm talking about at all. There's a total freedom.
You're talking about that higher, higher,
yes, that higher selflessness. Now, here's a question for both of you. Who do you think has a harder time with self-love, men or women?
Well,
women.
Yeah, but again, I would say it would depend on how the person is wired, because there are men that have a lot of feminine energy and there are women that have a lot of male energy. So just that's being said, who has a heart? I would say off the top of my head, women too, obviously. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I mean, because the reason I'm saying this, I'm reading this really interesting book, and it basically talks about how in a very, how can I say that? It might not be that obvious, but being born a woman, still in our society, we're still second-class citizens. Yeah, we grow up as little girls, hearing remarks about being female. So I think we're having a harder time still than men. Yeah, and men they have no problem. I'll go with my mates, I go fishing. See you later. I'm taking my time out, right?
Yeah, women are hyper responsible.
Yeah.
They are. A man, I say, honey, let's go on a vacation or something, and he smells the armpits of his favorite shirt and throws it in the suitcase. And I have to clean the house, do the laundry. How much of us do that? And we get everything spick and span before we ever get out the door. And then, we're doing the checklist. Now, some men do that, but a lot of men don't do that. They're just like, come on, let's go. It's time for fun. And they have a much easier time embracing play than women do, because women, from the time I can remember, somebody handed me a doll, when I was, under a year old. So care for this. And the guys go out and play. So it's, we're raised differently, and innately, I think we also have this caregiver nature. We're nurturers. Many women are. I'm not as much of a nurturer as my husband is, actually.
I mean, but what I've really come to learn about self-love is that no matter what comes up in me, it's coming up. And I think of Matt Kahn when I say this, whatever arises, love that. But it's really been a big lesson for me. It's like, wow, that desperation is still there. And we all do this, whatever it is. It's like, I think everyone gets to a place where consciously or unconsciously, they're going to make a decision and say, am I going to love this thing that's coming up, whether it's a good thing or a not so good thing, or am I going to project it out there and try to get somebody else to love it in me, try to get somebody else to take responsibility for this piece that's coming up. So, I mean, I really think ultimately self-love is loving whatever comes up, and honoring whatever the feeling and emotion is. And, with Jupiter and Scorpio, especially retrograde now, we're all getting an opportunity to dig in the ditches, and to turn the soil and to go, wow, that worm is still there. Okay. Am I going to love it, or am I going to make you love it, John or Sarah or my granddaughter, or it could be anybody, right?
All right. We have a few more. Chris, Cindy's selflessness is more about altruism, about understanding another's needs and anticipating them and helping to fulfill them, or just listening and responding in a way that validates or even tangibly helps take care of a need. The self-love is learning to have value as being not doing, and is needed to realize that you can't be of help to anyone if you have not taken care of yourself. Well said. Self-love is more about recovering from the guilt and shame and invalidation of harmful parenting and or partnering.
Totally.
Yeah.
Wow. Thank you.
Beautifully said. Beautifully.
Yeah.
I want to.
Carol says, I frequently play a song that goes, love break my heart so wide open that the whole world falls in.
What a lyric. That's
wow. it feels like we are moving towards that paradoxical place where we learn to set boundaries until all boundaries melt away.
Absolutely.
We learn to be our whole authentic self until that sense of self melts away, the journey to oneness.
Now that's higher Pisces speaking. I don't know what your astrological is, Carol. I would love. No, that was a beautiful set boundaries until all boundaries melt away. That's what the higher octave of Pisces knows. That we don't really need boundaries.
Emerging.
Yeah, exactly. Now, Capricorn's all about boundaries.
I want to look on Facebook.
And look, that's my journey with my dog at the moment. Yeah. So, and it's true. The heart being broken open and
the whole world can fall in. I mean, what a beautiful lyric is that? I guess we could just Google that lyric, right, in the song.
Yeah, Carol, tell us who sings that.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I got to add that to my lineup. That's what an amazing.
Yeah.
I'm like tingling from that lyric.
I think when it comes to self-love, we have to remember that, you know, we tend to judge ourselves very harshly. And whatever what we consider our weakest point, our weakest link, love that, accept that, embrace that. Even if we've talked about this in the past, our shadow side, something we don't want other people to know about us. How can that become power for you?
Yeah.
Embrace that. That is self-love, embracing whatever that is. For me, you know, it was being a dreamer. My dad used to say, you know, get your head out of the clouds, you know, because I was a dreamer. But, you know, I've spent my whole career coming up with ideas and then putting them into action. That's who I am. I'm a dreamer. And while somebody might say, oh, those dreamers, you know, they don't get anything done. I have gotten things done, but I had to learn that side.
Mm-hmm. Me too. I'm a dreamer too.
Yeah. I think all three of us are. Yep.
I had too much in my first school report, I had too much fantasy was written down.
Oh, really?
Seriously.
Wow.
First grade. He's doing okay, but she has too much fantasy. Too many dreams.
I love it.
Yeah, and you have the ability to make them real, Shivani. Actually, that's the Capricorn is about being able to make the dream real. So that's a pretty cool combo.
Yeah,
my dad didn't believe when I said with 15 I'm going to, you know, go to Australia and I'll move there, and he was like, yeah.
You know, Shivani, that happened to me with my family when I moved to Nashville in 1979. They didn't even come say goodbye. They thought I'd be right back.
Yeah, my poor dad, when I showed him the visa 5 years later, he really wanted to get me to a psychologist or psychiatrist because something must be wrong with me, because I didn't want to work. You know, the German work ethic was so big in my time.
See, but you have all that Sag energy. That's the irreverent, that's the undisciplined part. That's the I'm flying here. I'm going to move to Australia. I mean,
yeah. But I had this as, you know, like since I was 15, I made big decisions. And one was I need to leave Germany.
Wow.
It was like, get me out of here.
Yeah. Well, your spirit.
Where am I?
Your spirit had to leave.
Well, I'm grateful that you're in Australia because I'm planning on coming and visiting.
Yes. I'm grateful too, honestly.
Yeah.
It's much more. And I could feel it. Like I remember I landed in Perth and I literally, and I don't normally do that, right? But I landed and I suddenly kneeled and I kissed the ground in Australia.
Wow.
It was like I could feel the energy and I had this thing of, oh, I'm finally home. And that's how it felt.
Wow.
It still feels.
Yeah.
I feel that way about Nashville area. Yeah. I get that.
Yeah.
I would say I was a Southerner, just born in the wrong state. I just,
yeah,
definitely felt.
Yeah,
that.
very grateful I'm in Australia. Definitely.
Well, this has
Yeah.
been a wonderful conversation here today about the power of love. We want to hear from you. Please go ahead and leave us comments, and we might have some more comments, which Shivani or Lorelei will get to in just a moment. But we want to hear your comments. What is self-love? What is selflessness? What is self-love to you? Go ahead and leave comments. And again, if you like what we're doing here, give that like button a high five. Send us lots of hearts and thumbs ups. And also go to our YouTube channel, and the link will be below. And go ahead and subscribe to our channel, because we'll be posting all the videos there. And I'll also have Ferris post how you can get the Love Story book, because this is still available, and it is a beautiful book about real love in the real world. And then the other one that I mentioned was The Missing Piece. And you'll find this in the children's section, oddly enough. And I have probably given this as a wedding gift, I don't know, 50 times.
Wow, beautiful.
I give that all the time. It is such a meaningful book. And then The Missing Piece that meets Big O is the next one after this. There's a series, and you can sit there actually and read it. And once you do, you'll want to have this in your library. It's a very fast read. Both of them are. So just thought I'd throw that out there.
We have two more comments here from Chris. Dreamers provide the vision. They help ask what can be and help focus energy towards making it happen. Thank God for the dreamers. Woohoo! Jewel says, I have been a dreamer always and still love daydreaming as a way to plan.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Boy, that's
clever. Love that. Yeah, we need the dreamers, definitely.
And don't you think that if you can daydream, you can also manifest, because you can actually plan out exactly everything that you want to happen and how you want it to happen. And in the law of attraction, we know that for the daydreamers out there that can plan to that detail, things just happen.
So you want to go into Imagine? You want to go into the lyric of Imagine?
Oh, sure. Imagine all the people.
You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one.
I love it. Well, this has been great fun. And again, leave your comments, everybody. Any final words from either one of you that you'd like?
From me, with Mars in Aquarius, this is such a wonderful time to meet your authentic self, and to allow yourself to come out of the closet, whatever that means for any of you.
And practice accepting and loving yourself no matter what, warts and all.
In or out of the closet.
And take time to kiss a frog. Until next time, everyone, I just want to say much love to you. Thank you for joining us. And
leave them laughing.
Leave them laughing, absolutely. And
laughing is good.